All right, folks, good morning, and welcome to the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, and of course our affiliate station out in the western part of Massachusetts. That's right out in the Springfield area, WACE AM 730. You can reach the show anytime. Just call into the station here, 617. Now, I was going to give you the text number there. 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That's how you reach us for two-way talking conversation while I broadcast from our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios here in Westborough, Massachusetts. And we do have that text line, 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. By the way, you can also email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. Just one word, textjoeontheradio. Very simple, right? At gmail.com, it appears on the same screen, and I do it while I'm talking about it. So I want to say thank you to everybody that sends information. A lot of you actually communicate to the show during the week by using that email, and that's fine. But we do have a business email at joemshow@gmail.com, and our office number is 508-603-9778. 508-603-9778. All right. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning, Joe. Happy Saturday to you.
Yeah, happy Saturday. Happy quarantine.
I know.
This is how is this affecting you? Do you not go to work now?
I'm still going to work.
Still
Everything is still regular for me, actually. So
is that because there's not a lot of density of are you spread out at work or something like that?
We are spread out. Yes.
Or the fact that you're in a brewery, therefore as far as I'm concerned, you're an essential employee.
Right. Absolutely.
Have to absolutely keep the breweries going, people.
Can't run out of beer.
So that really hasn't affected you much.
No, not yet, thankfully.
But have you noticed it obviously hasn't really affected me. I mean, all right, we come in here a couple times a week. The two of us here, 99% of the time, it's literally just us two in here.
Right.
But I've worked out of my house for years. I have an office and a studio in my house, so nothing day to day has changed that way. But man, going out in the middle of to go to the post office, the bank, or something, and the traffic is so
drastically different.
Exactly, including rush hour and everything.
Yep.
And then going into some stores, but it still freaks me out to walk into a major supermarket, people, and you have 80 feet, an aisle, empty shelves of paper goods. It strikes me as odd, as something you'd see in the Soviet Union, Cold War or something. It's just weird. I think I saw that, blizzard of '78, and I've seen it at other snowstorms, but not to this degree that it's out. But anyway, how are you faring, people? How are you faring? How does the quarantine affect you? Now we have New York and L.A., California and New York talking about 100% of the workforce except for the essential people, that kind of thing going on. New York is quite an epicenter of things going on there. We're going to have a lot to talk to. Dr. Larry Fedawa will join us in hour 2. We'll hear what he has to say from his unique perspective of the situation. Some breaking news in the last couple days here, which obviously we're going to touch on, and is the revelation that certain members of the Senate were using the information that they may have, or maybe using the information that they got from these secret briefings. So they had this information and they sold off stocks, and some purchased stocks. Like there's a senator who sold off stocks and purchased stocks in companies that make certain medical supplies, that kind of thing. So, look, up until 2012, it wasn't actually even illegal for senator or members of Congress to use insider trading. They could actually do it. It wasn't until 2012 that Congress passed a law governing themselves about insider trading. I mean, that's got to blow your mind just a little bit. My Comex isn't up yet. Sean, do we have a call?
We do. We have Richard on the line.
All right, fine. Good morning, Richard. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Feels like I haven't talked to you in ages.
Good morning, Joe. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you faring in this? Does it really interfere with your day-to-day?
I'm still getting my Social Security check, I hope.
Right. Yeah. So that's not going to affect your income, but your lifestyle. You were kind of retired anyway, right?
Yeah, I've been retired since I was 34.
Well, there you go then. Yeah.
I've been living the good life, Joe.
Well, that's so. Yeah. So obviously you've been on like a SSDI type of thing, right? So you.
Yeah.
So
I
this
started
is your
off
life.
on SSI. Now when I hit 60, I think it was 62. When I hit 62, then I went on Social Security.
Yeah. And so that's it.
Yeah.
So your daily routine doesn't change much, and mine for the most part hasn't. I have to travel, to some, clients, right? Sponsors, clients, things like that. And all their offices are have adjusted. Either they're working totally, they're there, but they don't let anybody come to the office anymore. They'll do everything over the email and over the phone, which, and I think that, there's a lot to talk about, a lot going on. But just as an aside, I think that this might end up demonstrating to a lot of employers that work from home is a viable option going forward. Even once this is all done and we're through this pandemic, and they look at it, and if production stays the same or even goes up a little bit, I think a lot of businesses will say, well, maybe we can cut back on the brick and mortar, cut back on all this commercial office space, and maybe we can have a larger percentage of our workforce working remotely. And
Right.
save a lot of it, and that would be fine. That'd be great. But look at all the schools, Richard, right? Telling all the kids, okay, you're going to go online, and don't come back to your dorms. But they're not
Right.
refunding the money they've already given them for the meal plans, the dorm room, the classes. Like they've just basically overnight went to a University of Phoenix setup,
Yeah.
but they're not refunding their money.
Sure. What's worse than that, Joe, though, is all these grades 1 through 12. The parents, not them, because somebody that's 14, 15, they can take care of themselves. But I got my grandson. My grandson's 9 years old.
Yeah, well, I think that's a big problem, right? Because all these parents now, their life was set up for the kids to be away.
Exactly. So they got to take care of all their children and stuff like that. But the thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. First of all, let's look at all this. The bird flu, N1H1. Let's look at all these other ones, and you have to say to yourself, where do all of these originate from? They all originated from China. Okay. And then you have Ebola. Where does Ebola always originate from? It originates from Africa. And then after that, you have, Zika virus. Where's the Zika virus always originate from? South America, right? Did you ever see, it never starts in Westboro, Massachusetts, does it?
No, not really. But I got to tell you something, and I think, and this is another thing that this is actually going to show the world a little bit that this globalism thing isn't necessarily a great thing, and a lot of President Trump's platforms are coming to light here that it's a good thing, right? Secure borders and
right.
Manufacturing at home. And other countries don't have the regulations we have. And look, I regret I did this. I on the net the other day, and I clicked on a video that somebody had posted, and it was a walk through a market in Wuhan, China. And it was disgusting, first of all, but they had bats and snakes cut up, and then they actually showed dogs on the grill. And I'm not talking a piece of meat. I'm talking it looked like the dog without the fur, the head and everything. And then they had beautiful dogs in the cages who were clueless as to what was about to happen to them. And these are beautiful dogs, which you would see in a pound or you would happily take home, that were going to be eaten shortly. And I haven't eaten a piece of meat since I've watched that video. No, seriously, it would turn my stomach. And the bats, they had rats with like a bamboo skewed through them, and the whole rat with the head. And I'm looking at this, and there was just raw meat everywhere, and mixing it all up. And people who are walking through are touching the meat and taking a look at it and putting it back down. And I'm thinking, where's the mystery? There's no mystery how this can happen. There's no mystery. It was so disgusting. But the images of the dogs on the grill has haunted me for 2 days now. And I can't believe it. And you hear that, you hear about the Yulon. You know what the Yulon festival is? That's the festival in China that they actually torture and kill thousands of dogs in a week and eat the dogs like street meat. And you hear about it, but when I saw the actual video of this, it's unbelievable. And I don't recommend you do it. I regret that I watched the video. I mean, it's stuck in my head, burned in that mind's eye now. But it was so disgusting, and so there's no mystery why there's viruses and illnesses coming from there. Could you imagine seeing those conditions? And never mind a supermarket, but seeing those conditions at Faneuil Hall Marketplace.
The thing that we have to stop and realize like Ebola, all right, it always comes out of Africa. But the thing that you have to look at who's putting it out there, who's starting it. And it's like I told you last time I talked to you, the CDC has a patent on Ebola. Now, if you have a patent on something, aren't you kind of like looking forward to get it out there so you can make more money? And the Zika, all right?
Well, somebody has the patent on coronavirus, too.
They probably do.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. I was reading about that.
But I'll tell you about Zika. This is going to blow your mind when I tell you this one, Joe. Okay? Zika. The patent on that is owned by the Rockefeller Institution. How do you like them apples? Now, do you think that they're going to sit back on all these viruses, Joe, when there's money to be made through the vaccines and different things? And that's like swine flu. You remember back when Jimmy Carter was president?
Yeah.
Everybody went out and got a swine flu shot.
Yeah.
And they all died from the swine flu shot. Nobody died from the swine flu.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to wake up, Joe. Seriously.
Well, you know what? I had posted on Facebook a week or so ago that it seemed like every presidential election year, right, going back over the year to 2012, 2016, right, 2000. There was every election year. It was just coincidence that SARS was out, H1N1, H7N9, Asian flu, SARS in 2000, and I'm like, it seems like around every election cycle something comes up, and in the Facebook people, and I'd love to know who the dweeb is that's at Facebook doing fact checking, right? Put a warning on my post. That's not true, and of course that's asinine because we know what year is a presidential election year, and we know what year these flus were a problem. So how can you? They didn't like they flagged it and reduced my I guess circulation on Facebook because it's not that it wasn't factual. They don't like what the post was suggesting. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. But the Asian flu, right now, that was in 1956. That killed between 1 and 4 million people worldwide. And SARS in 2002 affected 8,000 plus, killed 774 in 17 countries. This is serious. This is a very serious
yes, it is.
virus that's out there. And I got to tell you, and the fact that these senators liquidated their stock after briefings, well before it was known to the American people, I really hope that doesn't, that there's an investigation and there's some issue, some people are paid for that. I know the spin right now is it's in a blind trust and I don't know anything that's going on.
Yeah,
Look,
right.
It's far too coincidental that you get a briefing, you liquidate this stock, and then on top of it, you turn around and you buy stock in companies that make respirators. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
but the thing that you have to understand here too, Joe, think about this. The bankers, they all shorted the market. And then after that, you have everybody that's in the know on Wall Street. They all shorted the market.
So, Richard, do you think
knew it was coming down, Joe?
Do you think that this is at all to hurt the economy because Trump's in, or just to hurt the economy and make money and nothing to do with who's sitting in the Oval Office?
I think basically what it is to have Trump keep quiet and stop him from having rallies, because first of all he was talking about, did you look at your 401k? Huh? Did you look at that? I mean, you're looking at your husband like, oh wow, he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you're a genius. Yeah.
So they got to shut him up. And this is what this here, all these flus and viruses and stuff, Joe, it's all done by design. Nothing ever happens unless they want it to happen. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I've been following this stuff now for 39 years. I've been following this stuff, and I'm just saying to myself, this here was to keep him quiet and bring his ratings down, but it's not, because actually his ratings on the flu is actually going up. It went from 48 to 53 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything they're trying to do against them is not working.
I think Trump has handled this situation very well. Okay. First of all, the wisdom of Trump's policies, like I said, right? Stronger borders, the terrible threat that China is to us, the dangers of globalism, the weakness of supply chains. So you're watching President Trump handle this. Even actually, do you have that sound? Dana Bash from CNN. Now, when CNN talking head gives President Trump credit for handling this, he's got to be doing something right, because this is Dana Bash just a few days ago on CNN. You don't have that? All right. We'll see if we can find it. But basically, she said, hey, give credit where credit is due. Now that the rest of the mainstream media, is maybe coming around. Now, you still have Schumer and Pelosi out there, no matter what. But do you think, Richard, that the American people, do you not know their game, right? Do we know?
We all do.
In other words, and I've said this, and I don't want to sound like an idiot saying over and over again, Trump rents space in these people's heads 24/7. No matter what he did, right? It's the best real estate deal he's ever made. Yeah. And I got to tell you, so when they talk, you just have to discount it, because they're not coming from a fair and unbiased position. They're not coming from an analytical position. They're just going to hurt Trump. Look at Pelosi trying to fire a bill now. She wants to pull back the state of emergency declaration that he made, because that, of course, gives certain powers open up and the purse strings open up, right? And she doesn't want that.
Declare martial law.
And, and this is another thing. In essence, martial law is kind of already here, folks. We just haven't used the term. Because when we use nice terms like shelter in place and social distancing, we use those terms. They're in essence martial law. So
that's right.
We are in essence under martial law. When the government's telling you that only 75%, now 100% of your workforce that's non-essential can't come in, you're under martial law, folks. And now we've got New York and L.A. saying, we're going to have quarantines into your home. So you're here. We're kind of in a degree of martial law here, folks. Already. This is what it's like. Now,
I'm going to wrap this up with one statement here, all right? And what it is, it's going to show how much the Democrats really hate this guy, all right? If they saw Trump walking on water, the news media would say, it's because he doesn't know how to swim.
Oh, absolutely. Trump doesn't know how to swim. You got it, 100%.
That wraps it up. I'll let you go, because I know you got other callers.
No problem. All right. Thank you, Richard. All right, folks. Yeah, that is so true. So, I mean, when Pelosi and Schumer and stuff are out there, yada, 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 you just discount it, because you know where it's coming from. All right. So, and I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, if you trade with inside information to enrich yourself during a crisis, that's pretty disgraceful. And for those senators that did this, I think you should resign, apologize, and even donate those earnings to the families of the victims of the China virus. And I did say, China virus, that's another thing. Asinine to get into this, folks. And it's just, again, to try to get at Trump. He did early closure on travel from China. You're a racist, a bigot. Well, I'll tell you, the China virus is a threat, and it has to be taken seriously. And thank goodness that Trump is leading us through this, and he's working tirelessly to find the solution to help all Americans, right? And look, at the United States is working with all of these large industries and businesses, airlines and others that are being affected, but they're also working with these companies, right? Walgreens and Walmart and CVS to designate space in their parking lots for drive-through testing centers. And then when Trump calls it the Chinese virus, it's not a slip-up, right? He's made it clear that China is spreading the propaganda. Right? They were coming out and having their talking points and saying American soldiers are responsible for it. And then you've got politicians regurgitating China's talking points. Right? So this is ridiculous. But I got to tell you, you've got, Dianne Feinstein, remember, you know her, right? The real left liberal senator from California, and her husband dumped up to $6 million in stock holdings just before the Chinese tanked the stock market. Yet, another member of the ruling class, the elite, who used this pandemic panic to turn a profit. Where's that accountability? Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi, they bought 5,000 shares of Visa stock as Congress was crafting new credit card regulations 2 days later. And they sold their stock $20 higher than they bought when it was the Pelosi provision to curb insider trading. I mean, is that corrupt or what? This thing is, these people, right, have been in Congress a lifetime, for generations. Nancy Pelosi, 33 years in office. You know her net worth is now $238 million? Feinstein, right, 28 years in office, $94 million. Joe Biden, he's at 44 years between Congress, Senate, Vice President, $15 million on a public service
1 minute
salary. And what do they all have in common? Decades of public service. And then millions of dollars to show for it. Well, Americans get screwed. All right. Coming up in a few seconds here, Out with Joe, we're going to actually take a look at how the coronavirus and quarantines are affecting the restaurant industry. And a lot of restaurants are finding some creative ways to deal with this, but unfortunately, a lot of places aren't going to survive this and won't be able to reopen the doors when the time comes. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation on text line, right? 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email me at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and we'll be back on the other side of Out with Joe.
This is Out with Joe. With Joe Mangiacotti.
Actually, honey, we're going to lunch.
Restaurants.
You can get anything you want.
I see a handling change Corona business loss 1 minute spot. Is that new?
Entertainment.
That's just like a handling thing.
You want that after this?
No, put them together. It's the same information. We'll put that in 73.
Welcome to this
Okay.
Joe, brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Well, this week we're going to take a look at the restaurant industry. Some facts at a glance prior to the hit of the coronavirus. Restaurant industry projected sales for 2020 to be about $899 billion. Restaurant locations in the United States tops 1 million. And the restaurant industry employees, well, that comes in at 15.6 million people. And new restaurant jobs created by 2030 was projected to be
You still want Dr. Larry at 7?
jobs. And did you know that 9 in 10 restaurant managers started in entry-level positions, and 8 in 10 restaurant owners started their industry careers in entry-level positions? 9 in 10 restaurant owners, 9 in 10 restaurants have fewer than 50 employees. 7 in 10 restaurants are single-unit operations. Restaurants employ more minority managers than any other industry, and 63% of consumers would rather spend on an experience than purchase an item. The number of middle-class jobs, that's $45,000 to $75,000, in the restaurant industry grew 84% between 2010 and 2018. That's more than 3 times faster than the overall. That is 3 times faster than the overall economy. These were the numbers and projections before the coronavirus outbreak. The restaurant industry is nothing if not scrappy. In just little over a week, many establishments across the country that may have never considered dabbling in delivery before have now adopted it wholesale as a means of survival in a new and frightening landscape created by the coronavirus. And a few have even taken things a step further, becoming a go-to destination for pantry staples, cleaning supplies, and yes, toilet paper, in addition to the usual carryout. Essentially, restaurants are becoming corner stores. If the shutdown continues for much longer, it's likely that many restaurants will start looking at these models to supplement income outside of just the food service. As concerns over the outbreak gripped the nation and calls for social distancing grew, eateries and caterers had a problem. Food was already prepped and ready to go, and clients were canceling events and asked them to do something else with the food, often suggesting that they just wanted them to donate the food to someone who needs it. In the past week, restaurants and caterers scrambled to keep up with the moving target of cancellations and en masse business closures, stemming from efforts to curb the rate of Chinese coronavirus cases. Many were left holding huge amounts of uneaten food and perishable ingredients. Now they're finding creative ways to dispose of those items and help provide food access in communities facing increasingly challenging economic environments. Food banks around the country reported a deluge of requests to rescue food from restaurants, companies, and convention centers as events were canceled and businesses closed. Office cafeterias and other restaurants in the area took to similar action, sending employees home with leftover loaves of bread and fresh vegetables that were destined to spoil. Here in Massachusetts, Governor Charlie Baker announced that the state would be expediting unemployment insurance claims for workers who lost their jobs due to the impact of the pandemic. That measure certainly helps food service workers who qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. We have suspended the Music Minute for this given week, given the current status, but for more dining and entertainment, click outwithjoe.com and follow us on social media at Out With Joe. Out With Joe has been brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza, Shrewsbury, on Facebook at Nothing Bundt Cakes, Shrewsbury.
You're listening to Out with Joe. Out with Joe.
Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bundt Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bundt Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bundt cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. Stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bundt cakes, you haven't tried a real bundt cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury, and on Facebook as well, Nothing Bundt Cake, Shrewsbury.
This is Wes Oliver with Prestige Home Mortgage from Handling Change. I can help you with all of your residential mortgage needs, from a purchase to a refinance or even an estate buyout situation in the event of a family death. You can call or text me at 508-332-4171 or on the web at wesoliverteam.com.
Come email this to yourself.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to, segment 2 of the first hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, AM 730 WACE. During the conversation, 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And you can text us at 617-297-8388. All right. Also, people are using that other times, and that's fine as well. So, coming up in hour 2, we'll hear from Dr. Fedawa, Larry Fedawa. He'll join us, and we'll find out what's going on with him. Look at Rich was talking about the flu. I know Trump's getting a lot of static about this, using the term Wuhan or Chinese flu. And again, going after him for that is just more white noise. It's more of the same. Okay? Look, according to, and Trump does call it the Chinese virus. It's not a slip-up. He means to do that because of the fact that that's where it came from, right? We've had the Spanish flu, the Asian flu, the Hong Kong flu. These, and they're not necessarily even named for where they came from. They're named because they have something to do with who discovered it or maybe where it came from. But according to a recent study, right, if China had acted 3 weeks earlier than they did, instead of lying and trying to conceal this, COVID-19 cases could have been reduced 95%, and geographic spread could have been limited So yes, it is the Chinese virus. It came from China, and that's just where it is, right? 1918, the Spanish flu. 1957 to 58, the Asian flu. 68, 69, the Hong Kong flu. 97, the bird flu. 2009, the swine flu. The annual flu epidemics kill between 250,000 and 500,000 people each year. It causes severe illness in 3 to 5 million people. But new strains that jump from animals to humans can be even more devastating if the global population has no immunity to the virus. Look, it is evident that, before this broke out, we've talked about border security in sovereign nations quite a bit. And in that list, in this list of why it's important that we have secure borders, somewhere in there, I've always listed, we as a group here have always listed just that. Medical reasons. We have seen an influx in illnesses that we thought we pretty much eradicated in this country popping back up. Because when you do enter the country illegally and there's no record of it, there's no record of your history, your medical history. There's no examination. And that's a dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing. Look at, you're not allowed to bring fruit. Try to bring fruit from one country into another country. Try to come home with fruit. They're going to take the fruit and throw it away or quarantine it at best. You can't just do that. You cannot introduce biologicals into another ecosystem. There's reasons for that.
We got two calls.
Sending people off into the world with viruses is nothing less than a form of biological warfare. 508-871-7000. Dawn, good to hear from you, man. My weekly dose of Dawn. Dawn in Stoughton. Good morning, sir.
Well, at least I'm a better dose than the coronavirus. That's for darn sure.
Hey, we're all going to get the coronavirus at some point. Not everybody's going to get their dose of Dawn, though.
Well, yeah, no, the unfortunate ones will not get their proper dose. But I want to jump on two quick points here. Now, it's been bothering me that in many of these Democrat enclaves, they want to take and shut down the gun stores.
Yeah.
Because if there's coronavirus out there, you cannot buy a gun, according to the Democrat Party, which just leaves me so confused I don't even know where to begin to start. But, I mean, you can't do that. No, not even a war will deny you the lawful exercise of your rights.
Look at the gun in one day, Dawn. Gun and ammo purchases went up 300%.
Yes.
In one day. And, look at the thing. Liberals, let's clear something up here. Liberals love guns as long as they're in the government's hands being used against conservatives.
No, you can't trust the cops. Remember the
Oh, no, you can't trust unless they're using them against conservatives.
But when I was in uniform, they used to spit on me when I was in Boston back in the 70s. So not even back. No, Democrats don't want anybody to have guns. I mean, it's insane.
Well, I got to tell you, and who was it? Was it Newsom? Who was the mayor that wanted to order the gun stores shut down?
Well, it was Newsom. Yes,
yeah, it was Newsom.
Governor.
Yeah, governor.
He's the governor of California. But I mean,
no, I thought Newsom was. Isn't he the mayor? Oh, he's the governor. That's right. All right, I'm sorry. Newsom's the governor.
Yeah,
Who's
Newsom,
the mayor right now out there? I don't know.
Do well. It's a female who's in charge in San Francisco. I don't know who's in charge of Los Angeles. But this is their explanation for everything. We're going to take money away from you to give to poor people, and that'll solve poverty. We're going to take your guns and prevent you from buying guns, which will help stop coronavirus. And, that leaves me hanging somewhere because it makes no sense to anybody.
Again, Don, the politicians who either dumping stock and buying stock with inside information before the rest of us, or trying to leverage this to either, step down on our Second Amendment constitutional rights, or going after, using it politically to go after their political foes, whatever it is, if you're using this very serious pandemic where people are sick and dying, that is just a low. It's a new low, and it's disgusting. Leave the politics out of it.
It's when they made the income tax now applicable to wage earners whose wages are not income during World War II, and it was only a temporary tax, and yet somehow more than 70 years later we're still paying that temporary tax.
Yeah.
But the killer here, though, Joe, is back in May of 1986, the Democrats convinced President Reagan to sign a law that said that the machine guns that were available to citizens would no longer be additive to. In other words, all machine guns that had been made available to citizens because they were sold off by the government or even purchased from private manufacturing would no longer be allowed. So the machine guns that existed in the hands of citizens in 1986, that was it. No more. Because Democrats said so, and foolishly Reagan believed them. But I mean, there is no justification for the 1986 law, which banned the further allowance of machine guns to citizens. Because, Joe, once these machine guns, once they disappear, that's it then. There's no more machine guns for citizens. And to what end, I do not know. But this is the insanity of the Democrat Party. If there's a problem, if there's a coronavirus, shut down the gun stores. If you don't like machine guns, make a law that says that you can't, allow any more into the hands of citizens, and somehow that will solve a problem. But even the Supreme Court, Joe, has ruled that you do not take and violate the rights of 99% of the citizens based upon 1% of the criminals.
Yeah. No, it is. It's crazy that they're always after any loophole or backdoor way that they can get after that Second Amendment. Remember that just a couple of weeks ago when Joe Biden got into that face-to-face altercation with the auto worker who is on his side, but hey, he's a blue-collar working guy, right? He obviously is, a Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, probably has a couple hunting rifles, a couple pistols at home or what have you, and he has a problem with that aspect of Joe Biden, and he questioned about it because just within 48 hours before that face-to-face, Don, right, Joe Biden stood on a stage with Robert Francis Beto and said, "You're going to be my gun guy." Right? You're going to go after the guns. This is the guy who said, yeah, we're going to come door to door and take your guns away. And he was out of the presidential race 24 hours later. And Joe Biden, I think he doesn't even remember that.
No,
and he tells this guy that he's going to slap him in the face, right? And do you want to step outside? And he called him something else. I mean, they talk about Trump. I mean, at least, Trump is just saying, hey, you reporters, you're nasty and you're biased and things like that. Yeah, he's gotten, but I mean, he's never stood face to face with a citizen like that and said, "I'm going to slap you in the face. You want to step out back?"
No, I mean it's crazy. I mean they try to pick every little thing with Trump, but I mean. Even as you brought up before, during World War II, why didn't the Japanese attack the mainland? It was because they feared not the hunting rifles, but the citizen protection firearms that the citizens had in the United States, and for the Japanese to attack would have been worse than suicide.
Yeah,
I mean,
because they believed that there was a firearm behind every bush.
Exactly, every blade of grass, and the citizens knew the land better than we do, and we don't have maps and all this other stuff. And yet the Democrats are screaming, we must get rid of the guns so that everybody will be safe. So Chicago bans guns. Chicago has the worst murder rate, and they say, well, it's because the guns are easily available in other states. Well, that begs the question then, is their murder rate higher than yours because guns are easy to get? Right. And the answer is no. No, it isn't.
Look, Don, the situation there is whatever the argument is that the left puts forward for the gun act, the gun control issue, it has holes in it. Every issue they put forward, it makes no sense. It's illogical from the beginning because it's not a logical argument. So when they say something like that, well, the murder it's very high because well, then why isn't the murder rate high in those states that
it's easy to get. You see what I'm saying? And look
That's what I always ask. Yeah.
There are hundreds of millions of guns, physical guns in this country, and literally billions rounds of ammunition. If the law-abiding, gun-carrying NRA member person, you, me, and these other guys, if we're the problem, you would know it. You would know it. We're as well equipped as the military. If we were psycho and if you had a problem, you would know it. But we're not. And a matter of fact, we're more often, right? Look at the guy down there in Texas, right? He took out, there's two bad guys in 6 seconds. And I still maintain that the only answer to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
No, that's why we have police. Well, they're good guys, well, except for the Democrats. Well, that's why we have the military. Well, not for the Democrats. Well, then who the hell do you trust with a gun, Democrats? And the answer is nobody. They didn't even trust you with your own money. They want to take it away from you and do wonderful things with it. And you look at this Joe Kennedy III or Ted Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. You look at LBJ. You look at all these Democrats. Jimmy Carter. Wait a second. They're not any smarter than me. I'd put my degree in engineering against anything they got. But people just fall in love with them. The Democrats, they have all the answers. Yeah, well, it must be a really stupid question then if they got the answer.
Well, I don't think any of them have the answer, to tell you the truth.
No, they don't.
But I got to move along, buddy. Thanks
sir.
for the call, and thank you for the input. Always greatly appreciated. 508-871-7000, folks, to join the conversation. And don't forget our text line at 617-297-8388, or text me at textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And also, we are streaming on the Facebook page for the Joe Mangi Show. So obviously on Facebook, it's Joe Mangicotti Radio Show, but the tag for it is just Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. It's not a big television production here, folks. It's just a camera in the studio, trained down on the microphones if you want to peek into the station. I don't even think Teddy is visible. I don't know. I'll have to go look at. No, you can't see Teddy, Shane? No, all right. Maybe we'll have to move Teddy, because I know that's a lot of people go looking just to check out the pup. Anyway, let's go to Lieutenant Ken. Good morning, sir. Thanks for calling.
Morning, Colonel Joe. Lieutenant Ken reporting.
What's on your mind today, sir?
We are in times that we have to think outside our normal ways.
Agreed.
It's not the time for pom-poms on our side or knives for those on the other. We have to get serious about solutions. And right now, our best solution is called hydroxychloroquine. And unfortunately, I don't think enough is being done to say, okay, we have people heading to their deathbeds. We need to use this, period, until we have a better alternative.
Now, are we talking the drug for the malaria drug? Apparently, it has great success. And a matter of fact, did you catch that, the little tiff between President Trump and a reporter from PBS? And
yesterday,
I think it was yesterday, and he was going, and he's saying, "Hey, what do you say to American people and these, the drugs? Is it?" And Trump got just aggravated. He said, "Look, that's a nasty question. Stop, it's in sensationalizing this. This is the time to be serious and a time to help each other, and this is a time to concentrate on that." I think he just hit his breaking point of being frustrated with the reporters always trying to twist everything and go after him. Can you not just give it a rest just during this COVID-19 issue? Can you just stop trying to twist the president's words, trying to make him look bad at every turn? The guy is doing a good job. He has pulled in experts from all over the government service, but also in the private sector. And I think the way that he's pulled the private sector in and said, hey, what can you do, right? And he said, I'm getting calls from all these companies. Look, the car companies will retool. You know what it costs a factory to retool? That's nothing to take lightly. That's a huge, millions of dollars to retool. We'll retool and we'll make respirators and ventilators and whatever else you need. And then, of course, the response to that is, well, it takes so long to get approval. And well, you know what? We're in a national emergency. You, over at the FDA, Go over there, tell them exactly what they need to have done, and you get them approved tomorrow, not 6 months from now. You fast track this. Tell them they'll retool and they'll build it the way they need to build it for sterilization, right? Cleanliness, that's the issue, right? That's why FDA has to sign off on that. In other words, everybody's time to pull together. As the president said, it's like wartime conditions. If we all pull together, and he has pulled in the private sector and said, what can you do? Now, the New York Post, at times rather, they twist what he says to the governors. Remember last week he said to the governors, Ken, look, we, the federal government, we're working on getting respirators. We've ordered them. They've got to make them. If you can get them faster, if you have a way to get them faster, go ahead and do it. You don't have to wait for us. You know what the New York Times headline is? Trump tells governors they're on their own. That's what they get out of that. Just stop it, people. Give him a break and let him do his thing. But the malaria drug is supposed to be, it's reported, the second 100% cure to the virus that never existed. And Donald Trump should immediately move to make this available, and go with it.
Well, wait a minute, Joe.
Yeah.
It's been available for over 60 years. It's FDA approved.
I mean, available in a big scale, not the technical. That's what he's saying.
Literally, you can go to the drugstore. It's there.
Yeah. Oh, and that was the other thing. What was it? What's his name? I'm drawing a blank. Arez or Azez, the health guy. He had the briefing yesterday. He was talking about
Fauci.
Not Fauci, not Dr. Fauci. Let me do it. Azez or something. What's his title? I'll come up with it in a second. But he was saying, look, he said, look, we're getting criticism from these governors and stuff saying that, we can't get these masks. He said, we made a couple phone calls to some of these manufacturers, and they're like, no problem. We'll ship you a couple 100,000 of them. He said, so they're jumping the gun and they're criticizing that we're not moving fast enough or that we can't get this stuff for them, but I really think that they're not making any phone calls. Why don't you check that out before you make that accusation? So, yes, it's been available, and I think what the president was saying is it needs to be available in mass quantity.
It is.
Well, that's great. Then why isn't it out there then? Why are we not? I thought that why aren't we using it?
That's what I'm getting at, Joe.
I have no idea.
Fauci doesn't really want to talk about this.
Why do you think
I'm
that
only guessing that this is a legal matter. They're afraid to take the next step. The doctors are afraid to take the next step and be sued. That they don't have all the approval for exactly this.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying the doctors are afraid to actually write the prescription without enough trial tests, and they don't want to end up getting sued. So
that's why we have to think outside the box and say, wait a minute, this is an emergency.
Well,
I don't know if the real step is the president saying, wait a minute, I am putting an emergency order that no one can be sued.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. And that you put it up to the person, right? You put it in the person, let them take the responsibility, lay it all out for them. No, we haven't done trial testing on this to treat this particular virus. However, in these samples, this is where we're pulling that data from, and that it has worked. You can, as an adult, in charge of your own life, you can make the decision to say, I will take it and waive the responsibility from anybody else, right? I'm not going to hold.
So I think, Joe, I think what's happening is we already have provisions to allow those who are in severe circumstances to, in other words, those who prescribe it will not be sued, right? So now it's just a question of where you draw the line. I don't think Fauci wants to miss from being in the limelight, and he may have been involved in situations where he's sued, and he's just like, I don't want to talk about that. Meanwhile, we're not grabbing the solution and running with it when you have an emergency with the huge impact. I mean, literally, if you cut, this is saying that it's equivalent to the death rates of
About 4 minutes to go. 4.
using this prescription in the tests that they've had so far.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, life returns to normal.
Yeah. Well, even before this broke out, Trump was on the what's the term that they were using? The experimental, the right for people to take experimental drugs if they wanted to.
Yeah, but that already exists, Joe.
Yeah, that already exists.
The question of where you draw the line. And that's where you have to say, wait a minute. If the line is here now, let's make sure everybody that's gone beyond a certain level of health can have this, and see if we can pull it back even further so we save more lives.
Yeah.
And get back to normal.
I agree. Everything should be done. And the media, Dr. Drew, right? That celebrity doctor. He came out this and he isn't changing his tune about this, but he said that the media should be held accountable for all of the damage that they're doing to people's lives, right? That they're overhyping the economy in the flu, what did he say? A bad flu season is 80,000 dead, and we've got 1,800 dead from the influenza this year.
But
so,
this has a much higher death rate right now.
It has a higher death rate.
The drug may turn that all around.
Yeah, so the point is that not to get to the 80,000, right, that we've had in the past with flus, is to use every means available, and if that means using the malaria drug and other experimental drugs, as long as the person that's taking it is well aware of what they're taking and what's going on, and that they understand they can't hold anybody responsible if they decide to try it, go for it. Go for it. If I was in that situation,
I would demand it for myself or any of my loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're running against the clock. Anything else, Ken, you want to get in?
That's it.
Still 2 minutes.
Primary focus is if we have an opportunity to get back to normal, we have to grab it fast.
Because we need to get back to normal, and we need to do that so that the stock market and the economy can get back to normal. Because we have a problem with businesses that aren't going to be able to withstand an extended period of shutdown, right?
Minute and a half.
We just talked about it out with Joe at the restaurants and things of that nature. We've got to make sure that companies don't go, and if that means opening the spigot at the SBA and the government guaranteeing, and Trump should do this and say, look, we're going to guarantee all the business loans right now. Let's do that. And then maybe on a case-by-case basis, forgive some loans. I don't know. But that's a conversation that needs to be had. But anyway, how are we doing on time, Shane? I don't have my clock up. 1 minute. Okay. All right, we're running against the clock, Ken. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, man. 508-871-7000. Join the conversation. All right, 7 o'clock hour. When we come back from the news, we're going to be joined by Dr. Larry Fedawa. Dr. Larry online. You can check him out. We'll see what he has to say about all of these situations that we're talking about. And don't forget, you can also text us at 617-297-8388 or email me at textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. We're live streaming on the Facebook page. Not that you'll be able to see Dr. Larry. It's just a peek into the studio. Then we're back tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. But 6 to 7 o'clock, our new show from Cameo Media Productions is the Faith in America with Reverend Peter Preble.
20 seconds.
And he's here every Sunday morning from 6 to 7. I'll be here at 7 o'clock. And very special guests joining me tomorrow. I'll tell you more about that in a little while. But stick with us. We'll be back on the other side with Dr. Larry Fedawa.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
7 o'clock. Special report, coronavirus update. I'm Christopher Cruz. The governors of California, Illinois, New York, and Connecticut have told people to stay at home unless they absolutely have to go out. President Trump has declared that a major disaster exists in New York and has ordered federal assistance to the state. At least 75 million Americans have now been ordered to stay at home. Many of America's biggest malls are shut down. Correspondent Clayton Neville says the closures have left thousands of employees without work.
From food courts to department stores and kiosks, shop is closed up at malls from New York to LA and most in between. This shopper was headed in for some last-minute shopping to find the parking lot empty and and doors closed.
We got our gloves on. It's getting crazy out here. Everybody needs to wrap up.
Mall employees not out of a job for good, but many now looking for at least temporary work somewhere else.
The U.S. Senate will continue working on a $1 trillion-plus economic rescue package today, hopefully ready for a vote on Monday. I'm Christopher Cruz. Actor-singer Kenny Rogers has died. Over 6 decades, he had jazz, folk, country, and pop hits. Among them, Lucille, Lady, Islands in the Stream with Dolly Parton, and the underrated 20 Years Ago.
I can't believe he didn't say The Gambler.
Come back 20 years.
Rogers sold tens of millions of records, was a superstar in the late 70s and 80s. He had 24 #1 hits. Rogers died at his home in Georgia last night of natural causes. He was 81. Bars and restaurants in New Orleans were packed on St. Patrick's Day, but now those same places are closed, and some are wondering if the Mardi Gras celebration in February, with its large partying crowds, contributed to the spread of the coronavirus that has sickened many and thrown so many out of work. The virus has infected almost 500 people in Louisiana. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required.
I'm Reverend Peter Preble, host of Faith in America on WCRN 830 AM. On Faith in America, we hold conversations at the crossroads of faith and society. Faith in America, Sunday mornings at 6 a.m., right here on WCRN.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Lavash, you're all set with your mortgage, and I assume you understand what you just signed.
A stack of papers, George?
That's right. And for future, just call this number if you need anything. And, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna need that pen back.
The mortgage process can be confusing. Looking for the right rate, the right term, and most importantly, the right place to get your mortgage. At Clinton Savings Bank, we are committed to getting the mortgage that's right for you. You may even receive up to a $750 credit off your closing costs. Plus, right now, you can lock in the rate from your pre-qualification for 90 days while you look for a home. So what are you waiting for? Definitely not this.
Oh, boy. Hi, Mrs. Lavash. How can I help? Oh, you're breaking up. Try again later.
Subject to credit approval. Offer may be withdrawn at any time. For complete details, exclusions, and credit costs and terms, call 888-744-4272. Apply at ClintonSavings.com. NMLS number 422081. Member FDIC. Member DIF. Equal housing lender.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years, with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
So, are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system, and get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com, and like me, you'll be glad you did.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show. You want to know, it's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome back here to Hour 2 of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WACE, our affiliate in the western part of the state. We're also live streaming on the TuneIn app. That's right, you can take us anywhere. Just punch WCRN into TuneIn, and bang, you get the station no matter where you are. All the shows take us anywhere. You can reach the station for there's Teddy for two-way talk and conversation, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000, and our text line is 617-297-8388, or email textjoeintheradio@gmail.com, and you'll get in real time. It appears on the same screen. And as far as that goes to text from 873, I agree 100%. A matter of fact, I think we should do that. It's a great idea. All right, folks, coming up at 7:30 is Handling Change, and we're going to check in with Paul Stankus from the Cantiani Insurance Group. The thing that's out there, folks, is a lot of businesses carry business interruption insurance. That's a very normal thing. And, that's if, there's a severe snowstorm, or somebody drives into the front of your store and you can't do business, and there's insurance for that. Now, the problem here is that the bacteria and viruses are a normal exemption on business loss insurance, and Paul Stankus will address that. That's a big issue for businesses right now, and how you're going to have to get around that. But right now, it's time to be joined by Dr. Larry Fedawa. Dr. Larry is a conservative commentator and radio talk show host on social and political issues. He's a former international technology executive, a business owner, and even a college president. So let me invite into the conversation Dr. Larry. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are we? How's the self-quarantining, I guess, is going on the farm? You've got a big spread down there in the D.C. area, right, or Maryland?
Well, not too big, but
you got
active.
elbow room, right? You got a lot of elbow room.
That's true.
Yeah. So it hasn't really affected your day-to-day stuff too much.
The epidemic, you mean?
Yeah, the epidemic, the quarantining, and
social
distancing.
It's not the direct effect of the disease. It's all of the closures that have occurred around here and throughout the country, I guess. Schools and businesses and churches and everybody at events, everything is closed down. It's not. There's no reason to confine people to their homes yet, but it's amazing. You could drive downtown. I haven't done it because I'm too. I've had no excuse, but I hear that it's like a ghost town.
Yeah, I was saying
D.C.
Yeah. I was saying at the opening with Shane, our producer here, that Nothing really changed for me. I have an office and a studio in my home. I work 90% of the time out of home anyway, so it doesn't affect me at all. But having to go out to do the things you got to do, you go to the bank, the grocery store, the post office, etc. Traffic is almost non-existent. It's wonderful to get around, right? I'm not getting frustrated with these Massachusetts drivers. And I went to the post office. There was only like 4 people in there. I went into the butcher shop the other day. Literally 3 people were in there, and they had a big sign: only 20 people at a time allowed into the store. It's the closures. You can't. And now I could go several days, right, without even thinking about not going out or going out to dinner or something. But now it seems that you don't have the option to go out. All I'm thinking about, geez, wouldn't it have been nice if we could have gone out to dinner tonight here or there? Whereas before, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. So the other thing, right, and I'm trying to do is do the takeout. I'm trying to support the businesses that I like and that I go to by going and getting my dinner or lunch or something and doing the takeout to try to, make sure they're there when this is all over, that they can open the doors again. So I'm trying to support my local mom and pop shops by getting takeout or delivery to keep people employed. At least, I've done in the last week, I've done more of that than I normally would have done. For that reason, to try to let them survive this.
Yeah, that's what I'm really the most concerned about, this bailout.
Yeah.
65%, maybe even more, of the employment in the United States is small businesses, and this is not Boeing or General Motors. It's the guy down the street, and it seems like their initial concerns were these big companies that they actually have assets that they can borrow money against if they need to, and but the small guys, a lot of them are week to week or month to month, and cash flow is a real problem. So I'm just hoping that there's enough support and enough understanding of that problem in the Congress now that's debating what kind of a bailout they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about it. There's a real history of the United States Congress being very generous to big companies and forgetting about the small guys.
I know. I got to tell you that's a big concern too, folks. We're talking to Dr. Larry Fedawa, and he does have a show Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8 o'clock at Blog Talk Radio. Is the best way for people to check into that. So check that out again every Wednesday from 7 to 8 o'clock, and you can go to drlarryonline.com and get more information there. But as far as the bailouts go, okay, the one thing is, look, all these people just go. I know here in Massachusetts, right? Baker, our governor, announced a slew of emergency actions that his administration has taken. The Department of Unemployment Assistance will pay unemployment benefits to workers ordered to quarantine themselves or leave work because of risks or exposure with no delay, nothing. Just bang, get them on unemployment. That's a good way to deal with it. But these little businesses that don't have that cash flow, don't have those reserves, right? They've spent all the either 10, 20 years building up the mom and pop situation, or God forbid, these new businesses they're already on a shoestring. How do they survive? Now, there's been some cases here, Dr. Larry, where there's been landlords who have told the restaurant or the business, their tenant, hey, why don't you pay your payroll, pay something to your employees, and don't worry about the rent this month. We've had that. We've seen people come together like that. But something's got to happen for these people. I have a suggestion prior to you coming on that they say, look, turn the spigot on at the SBA. Government guarantee all these loans so that they can make these loans to these companies and keep them afloat. Because I'm really concerned about the guys who can't open the doors when this is over and that they're gone. And we're going to have all this vacant commercial real estate space, and people don't have the ability
to take it over or open a business. So this is just in extremely unique circumstances. And I don't want to see all the money going to the big corporations, because what happened in the last bailout, Dr. Larry, right? They bought stock back. They gave the executives these ridiculous bonuses. It didn't trickle down the way it should have to the employees and keeping people employed. As a matter of fact, some of these companies took money and laid people off.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do we deal with it?
It was not well handled, I don't think.
No, absolutely not. Have you been watching the news breaking regarding the senators who have kind of cashed in on the situation here, right? You've got Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, just getting these briefings, right? And then all of a sudden, in these blind trust stock portfolios they say they have no control of, and they only find out about their trades later on, that they dumped millions of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock, and some of them even bought into businesses that are going to benefit because they make respirators or surgical masks.
Well, I think, I have been following it, and I must say that I fully exonerate the people who really do have a blind trust. If it's really blind, then their defense is makes sense, namely that they don't have anything to do with it. But people like Senator Burr, for example, of North Carolina, he did it himself. I mean, he went out of the confidential briefing and disposed of at least $800,000 of stock that we know about, and some say it was as much as twice that. And he personally placed those orders. So there's no way for him to say that he didn't know that this wasn't insider trading.
Right.
But
well, it's amazing that there wasn't even a law.
There is a difference. Yeah. Between some of the cases are probably legitimate.
Right. What I find interesting, there wasn't even a law against Congress inside trading until 2012.
Yeah,
I mean, it took them till 2012 to actually make a law that says, hey, we can't do this. We can't do what we actually send other people to prison for.
Yeah. Well, one of the remaining so-called mysteries of American political life is how can you have career politicians who nominally never make more than a couple $100,000 a year, and that's actually usually the president, and they end up after a number of years as being multimillionaires. How in the world did that ever happen? Well, it's got to be there's got to be a smell there someplace.
Right. Well, I get it. Okay, first of all,
this goes trading is
absolutely
really the secret.
All the way back, whether it's Hillary Clinton in those beef futures or what have you, cattle futures, but everybody and they're still doing it. They want to see Donald Trump's tax returns. I want, oh my God, his tax returns. Wait a minute. I'm less concerned with a multi-billionaire becoming a president and donating his salary. I'm more interested in the person who's broke when they go into Congress, and 3 terms later, 6 years later, they're worth millions of dollars. That's the tax return I'd like to see. Now you also have Senator Loeffler, right, the female from New York. Her husband is the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
So I understand that there's a little money there, but she's one of the ones who dumped a significant amount of stock, right, after the briefing. So
yeah, but she claims a blind trust.
Yeah, that's what she's come out and she's saying that she defended the stock sale of $3 million. That is in Senator. She's married to CEO Jeffrey Sprecher. He's the New York CEO of New York Stock Exchange. The sale came. I was going to read this on. The sale came in the weeks after Loeffler and other senators received a private briefing from the Trump administration officials in late January about the coronavirus In addition, Loeffler GOP Senators Richard Burr and James Inhofe, along with Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein, dumped millions of dollars in stocks in the weeks after that private briefing. Now, she has at least a defendable position, right? I mean, her husband's CEO of the New York Stock Exchange. I'm assuming he handles all of their stock investments. But are you going to tell me that there was no pillow talk after she got this briefing? Hey, honey.
Hard to believe.
Guess what's coming down the pike? And we had, who is the senator that, he's on mic. They got him on a recording saying that this is going to be as bad as, the Spanish flu epidemic.
That was Burr.
Burr, yes. That's
at the same time that
we got Keith Lambert on the phone. I don't know if you saw that as well, but Keith is here.
Air and telling people how bad it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks. It is, 21 minutes after the hour. I don't have the original normal digital clock up. We have Dr. Larry Fedawa online with us. Let me take a pause for a second and bring into the conversation Keith Lambert from New England Trump Stores. Good morning, Keith. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning, Joe. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you faring in this self-containing social distancing era that we're in?
Well, just like everybody else, I'm trying to be as hopeful and as positive as I can be.
Yeah. How does it affect the stores at all? Do you have to limit the number of people in at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, we try to keep it to a minimal, but, it has slowed down, dramatically. We try to clean in between each customer that comes in and wipe down handles and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely been slow, and I'm going to keep the stores open as long as I can until we get shut down by the state if that happens.
Yeah, Dr. Larry, this is Keith Lambert. Keith is the gentleman who opened up New England for Trump stores here in Massachusetts, of all places. Do you believe it? And they're doing.
Now that's a courageous man.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Keith, tell him how it came about real quickly.
Basically, I was looking for a red hat to go to the rally in New Hampshire back in August, and it was really difficult to find. Me and a buddy of mine, and I just said, well, there's a need for it, and I'm in hot market vending, so I basically provide products that to people when it's really hard to find them, and so I just said, well, let me try to set up some tents and see how things go, and it just kind of exploded, and it got a little too cold in the winter, so we started opening some stores, and here we are. We got 5 stores now.
Yeah, he opened 5 stores up in a matter of a month or 6 weeks, something like that. Yeah, and they took off, Dr. Larry. Big demand. You would have thought, first of all, really a New England for Trump store going to survive in very blue Massachusetts. But not only have they survived, but they've flourished. And Keith has gone up to New Hampshire when he's had the rally. He went down to New Jersey. Was it New Jersey?
Yes.
Yeah, New Jersey. Yeah. So it's been working out great for him. And again, folks, you can go to Facebook. Is really the best place, Keith, right, for your locations and times.
Yeah.
Have there been any incidents of violence?
No, actually, when Trump got impeached, we had a lady out in front of one of the stores with a little handmade sign saying, he was impeached. We had a couple of people open doors and yell in, but that's it. I mean, nothing.
It's funny, Dr. Larry, that's where your mind, because that was one of my first questions to you, Keith. Right? Were there any protest or violence? Did anybody? Because we just have seen the emotions get the better of people on the left. I mean, that is being very polite and putting it in that terms, right? So, I mean, we've seen media members of the press being beaten, 73-year-old man attacked, that 15-year-old kid got slapped in the face because he had a MAGA hat on by the 38-year-old in New Hampshire. It's just ridiculous stuff. But I'm glad that there's been no serious issues at any of the New England for Trump stores. I've got my patriotic fedora hat on. Everybody who's watching the Facebook streaming can see that, Keith. Thank you very much.
Nice.
And Jean still has to pick up her very pink New England Trump mega hat that you sent in for her. And have you heard from Bryant, our buddy? So about a year ago, Dr. Larry, I don't know, because it made national news. There was a 24-year-old, blue collar worker guy. Him and his buddy stop in at a Mexican restaurant to have a beer and some tacos or something, and a woman starts harassing him about his mega hat on, and pulls it off his head and physically
Oh my God.
touches him, and even starts telling the bartender to poison his drink and all this stuff. So the police are called, and this kid Bryant, he's a good, hardworking kid, right, with a good head on his shoulders, and he's not reacting. He's just like, please give me my hat back, give me my hat back. Look, that's it. He didn't want to press charges, but she actually, in front of the police, takes his hat off and kind of gives him a smack in front of the officers. So, of course, they have to arrest him. And it turns out, Dr. Larry, that she's actually an illegal immigrant. So,
Yeah, I did hear about that.
You did. So, well, we had him on a couple of weeks ago, and Keith called him up and said, hey, come into the store and pick a new hat out, by the way. So have you heard from Mr. Turner, Keith?
I have not.
Okay, so we'll see if he's going to follow up on that. All right, but I got to let you go, but let us know any specials, anything that you want to get out there that people should know about, other than the fact that the stores are open, absolutely open. You can get all the locations and contact information on Facebook page. Just go to New England, that's NE for Trump on Facebook. Give the store a call, right? You can just call the store and make sure everything's okay and going down. No?
Yep, everything's good. I'm still getting a flurry of calls, maybe 5 or 6 calls a day, people asking if we're open. But I will tell you this, that we've made a big push to get a lot of product online. We did a soft launch this weekend just to see, and it seems like it's going okay. So hopefully next week, I mean, if it gets to the point where they're going to shut us down, we'll at least be able to. We'll be online.
Got it.
NEfortrump.com. You can get products on the site.
NEfortrump.com. All right, good. And let me know how that goes. We'll get it out on our social media as well, Keith.
Yeah, as soon as we get a confirmation that everything's working smooth. So far, it looks good, but we'll hopefully through the weekend we'll be able to get through the buzz.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for calling in.
All right, thanks.
All right, that's Keith Lambert, and again, the proprietor of New England for Trump stores. Again, 5 locations throughout the area. Yeah, great story, Dr. Larry, right? The guy couldn't find a mega hat to save his life. And, nowhere here in Massachusetts, and he wanted to go to that New Hampshire rally, and that guy happens to be in that, when the Patriots go to the Super Bowl, he's the guy that all of a sudden, where'd all these Patriots hats come from? And, shirts and stuff. Well, he's the guy that does that. So he was kind of in the business, and his buddy says, yeah, we get our stuff down in New York. And so he went down, loaded up a truck, set it up in a parking lot, and sold out. So great story.
Well, that's real. That's entrepreneurship at its greatest.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So anyway, back, as far as this goes, I hope that that the ethics committee looks into this, and if there were insider trading, that gets taken care of. I mean, the fact that it wasn't until April 4th of 2012 that a law was signed in, Obama signed it, that prohibits the use of non-public information for private profit, including the insider trading by members of Congress. So they are, now covered by insider trading law, and it's disgusting that the Congress is constantly exempting themselves. When they start putting all of these, when we talk about like the Medicare and Medicaid for all, I think that you should say to them, any law that you pass going forward, members of Congress have to have that health plan, same as everybody else. Let's see if that passes.
In fact, that's been tried many times, and they always seem to defeat it.
Yeah, or they go back and they undo it later, right? There's been cases where,
one way or another.
One way or the other.
It never gets done.
Yeah, so that's pretty tough. What are some of the things that people are going to hear on your show? Either they've heard this past Wednesday, or we're going to hear on this Wednesday. What are you talking about these days?
We're addressing
1 minute.
The basic issue of coronavirus. Right now, the discussion has been pretty much dominated by the medical people and public health people, and that's rightly so because it is a medical problem. But on the other hand, there's a tremendous fallout in the financial side, and that's what really getting people down. It's not the disease itself, because there really is
30 seconds
spreading of that.
And actually,
But,
Doctor, we need to take a break for handling change. And actually, what we're going to deal with Paul Stankus from the Cantiani Insurance Group is the fact that all these businesses that have business interruption insurance,
12 seconds,
viruses and bacteria are exempt in that. So we're going to talk about this, and Dr. Larry and I will be back on the other side here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Good morning and welcome to Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and Paul Stankus of the Cantiani Agency joins us this week. Protecting your home, autos, business, and possessions can be challenging. Paul can help you handle those challenges. Well, first of all, how are things at the Cantiani Agency in the midst of the coronavirus and the restrictions that we are all dealing with right now?
Well, currently we are still open. We are closed to the public as far as walk-ins, but at the moment we are still accepting calls, emails, any other type of contact. And a lot of what we do can be done via email or electronically. So if you do have an issue or a need, we can certainly still help you out.
So you're open for all business. Everything's the same. It's just that you're not doing the walk-in.
Correct. We're trying to keep the contact between each other as well as the outside public at a minimum.
Well, that's fantastic and good to know. So, folks, you can, of course, check things out at cantianiagency.com or call them at 508-791-2088. But let me ask you about the coronavirus and how this is going to play when it comes to the insurance front, because we have a lot of businesses that have been forced to close, as we know, right? Restaurants and gyms and all kinds of various businesses. So it has really interrupted the business. And how does the insurance aspect play into this, and can they be made whole?
Well, at the moment, what we're running into right now is most business owner policies include a coverage called business interruption coverage. Now, this type of insurance covers the loss of income that a business suffers after a disaster that may cause them to close their doors for a period of time. This type of coverage can help businesses with operating expenses, a temporary move, payroll, taxes, and even loan payments. The one problem that we're running into, though, is that business interruption coverage does have some exclusions. In this case here, they do exclude viruses and bacteria. So we're in works with the companies to find out if there is, in fact, any coverage, and they're researching this as well.
Once a business's loss is deemed a catastrophic loss, then the exemptions no longer apply, and they can actually maybe be made whole at this point. I guess the question, Paul, is when is that going to be determined, and who determines it's a catastrophic loss?
Well, at the moment, this is an unprecedented event that's happening. A lot of the companies are combing through policies to see if there's any coverage at all. Depending on how much loss has occurred over the course of the state, companies will be looking into seeing if there is going to be any coverage at all. We're also looking to see if in fact there is no coverage, if at some point the government might step in to provide some type of relief.
Well, in Massachusetts, you've had the governor declare a state of emergency, and you've had the president declare it a national emergency. So I guess that it's pretty good news on that front, because you can't really get much more in a catastrophic situation than a state of emergency and a national emergency. But as you said, this is unprecedented. We've never experienced this particular type of an emergency. And I think that a lot of people are hoping that the stimulus package will include helping businesses recover directly. Meanwhile, the insurance companies, as you said, they really haven't dealt with this before. So are they also waiting for a cue from the government, do you think?
I believe so. I mean, I'm sure they're watching things closely. I know right now they're looking at certain claims on a case-by-case basis, just to see exactly how each individual business is being affected. Hoping with the governor and the president coming forward with this information and this help, that somewhere down the line, they're going to offer some relief to help stimulate the economy and help some of these smaller businesses and even the larger businesses out.
Usually loss from interruption, what do we find in that situation?
Times when business interruption coverage will come into play is you could have a fire in your building, in your business. We've had customers who have had people drive through their storefronts, and in times where they're not able to operate with the damage done to the building, they get some relief, and they also get relief during the time that those damages are being repaired.
But a virus is typically specifically exempt.
Yes, both viruses and bacteria are listed in the exemption portions of the policy. So right now, with this being such a new event that we're going through, a lot of companies are doing their research. They're combing through their policies to see if there's, in fact, anything that might help some of these business owners.
So I think that it sounds as though, Paul, and tell me if I'm off here, that the original exemption for virus is probably dealing with everybody got the flu through your company, you weren't going to be able to activate that policy. But where this is really a pandemic, and it is really really an unprecedented situation, you feel that there might be some relief, hopefully.
We're at least hoping so, absolutely.
All right, Paul, well, thank you for really chiming in as far as the coronavirus goes and how that's affecting insurance and what that's like right now. And
About 1 minute left, Joe.
I've been asking, well, how are these businesses going to survive? How are they going to stay open? But if there is both some federal assistance and maybe the insurance companies do see their way to cover some of it, that might come a long way in helping businesses survive this.
Absolutely. I think at this point, anything would help.
Fantastic. All right, Paul, thanks for stopping by, and thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Join us each week at 7:30 as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life, and visit us at handlingchange.info, follow us at Talking Change for You, and contact us at handlechange@gmail.com. You can find Cantiani Insurance online at cantianiagency.com, and as Paul said, they're conducting their business as usual, just not with walk-in service, and you can give them a call anytime at 508-791-2088. For Paul, I'm Joe Mangiacotti. All right, folks, welcome back to the final segment of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN, and of course our affiliate AM 730 WACE in the western part of the state. Phone line is open and available at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is also available to you at 617-297-8388. Thanks for the commentations that I'm getting here. Hey, before I forget, Dawn, if you're still listening, send me your contact information at joemshow@gmail.com or the text line. I'd appreciate that, Dawn, if you're still listening. Online with us is Dr. Larry Fedawa. Dr. Fedawa is a conservative commentator and talk show host on social and political issues. He's been in the tech business and actually a college president. He lives on a horse farm down near D.C., so you're living life large, I'm assuming, right? You don't get up, but you got the animals there to keep you company every day. And what do you actually have people on the farm, Doctor, who feed the animals and brush the horses, or are you out there doing that? Did we lose him? Dr. Larry, did we lose you, sir? Shane? No? Maybe he just walked away from the phone. Okay. All right. Well, when you come back on, or
yeah, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I answered the question is we do have people that come and help us. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Let me ask you this again, Dr. Larry Fedawa online with us. If I make the statement that the coronavirus will show the American people the wisdom of Trump's policies, right? The need for strong borders, the terrible threat that China is to us, and the dangers of globalism, and the weakness that we have in the supply chains that have been highlighted, and that more crucial products need to be kept within the boundaries of the country for the supply chains. Would you say that's a fair statement? Would you agree with all of that, or some of it would you take issue with?
Well, I agree with it from the point of view that it is a reasonable and understandable interpretation of what might happen. But I don't think it's without any kind of risk. I think this has been a huge problem, gamble, because we could have taken the approach that was taken by Obama, for example, in the last time we had the SARS problem, and yeah, we had some casualties and more than usual, but really it didn't make any terrific difference. And that is really what could have been done, and we sort of have to, we have to wonder whether closing down the entire economy was really justified and was really a prudent decision. Now, he had certainly all of the public health people solidly behind that, and in fact, that's where he really got the idea. But we need to. It seems to me not count completely on that from as a way to judge what's going to happen in November, because it could be that we're throwing this country into a level of depression that it won't bounce out of real quickly, and that there will be really lasting and perhaps catastrophic results from it. It's really a huge gamble, and it's very concerning, frankly. You asked me what we're going to be talking about on my show tonight, on Wednesday, and that's basically part of it. The other part is people are panicking, and I don't think anybody, including the medical community, ever anticipated that was going to happen. What they really thought was that that the people would sort of take all this in stride, and there really wouldn't be a big difference in the way that they reacted financially and economically. And I don't think that any of those people really had a concrete experience or a reason to believe that the way that they were going to survive was dependent upon this kind of, I would say, very, very difficult set of circumstances. So, yes, I accept that as a working hypothesis, but I'm certainly not confident that that's going to carry the day indefinitely. I think it's a huge gamble.
The economic stimulus package, or what part is the gamble?
The gamble is closing down the entire economy.
Well, there's been some talk about actually suspending the market. I mean, we did that at 9/11. We've had the circuit breakers
that
kick
was
in.
more or less over a weekend.
Over a weekend, yeah, that's true. But we've had the circuit breaker kick in several times, right? We had it done actually 3 times in one day. We had one morning within minutes of opening up, the Dow hit the 7,000. Boom, cut it off for 15 minutes. So those were put in place to stop the crashes from happening. Can we actually do that though? Can we shut the market down? Is that even possible? And does it make any sense to do that? Look, we've lost all the gains that we got during this presidency. With all that, we were about to break 30,000. We're back down to basically the starting point of when he took over, and thank goodness for that, right? I mean, I know that people they like to go, oh, look at the economy. I mean, people like Bill Maher are ecstatic that this is happening. Doesn't care because he's in his Hollywood bubble. It doesn't affect him at all. He doesn't care that average Americans have lost collectively millions and millions of dollars, and people's retirement funds are getting wiped out. Doesn't bother him as long as Trump looks bad, though, right? But if it wasn't for the fact that the stock market did so well during the first 3 years of his presidency to get to that point, to be able to lose that, right? I mean, we really are just where we started when he took over. It's the snapback that's important, right? How long and
that's the gamble.
That's the gamble. How long does it take to get through this? Because remember, 85-90% of everybody in this country is going to get the coronavirus into their system at some point. The issue is, if you're healthy enough to get through this, and this is another thing, I don't want to digress on this, but to you young people out there, the 24 to 54-year-olds that think you're that you're absolutely immune from this and it doesn't affect you, you're wrong on that. But that aside, as long as we don't hit that bump, right, the bump that we hear about, we can't all get it at the same time. We can't handle that. We don't have the respirators, we don't have the facilities, the beds, the ICU units, the doctors, the nurses. We can't physically handle the majority of the country getting that virus all at the same time. So it's going to be a long time that we want it by keeping that bump down, keeping the social distancing in place.
We're going to eventually get it, but just not all at once. So I'm concerned with the snapback. When we get through the worst of it, will the market get back into it? Will we see the trading go back up? I mean, people right now, there are people buying all because it's was it Buffett, right? When there's blood in the water, keep your head about yourself. So there are a lot of people who are buying into the market right now, and they're doing they will eventually do very well. But how long is it going to take for us to recover from this? Is it going to be a year or 22 years? It from the Great Depression.
Well, if it's more than 6 months, Trump loses.
Does he lose? I mean, can you really blame him for this black swan event? Can you blame him? I mean, I go back to they've got to get the message out there that one of the reasons that we're not as bad off as we could have been is the fact that we had a 12,000 gain in the stock market in 3 years of his presidency. That's got to count for something. That's got to give him a little credit, a little goodwill.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to make the difference. If you've got massive unemployment, I mean, he's assuming that we're only going to have this for 2 or 3 weeks, and then after that, things are going to start reverting to normal. And if it happens that way, then he's right. It will. But if it takes 4 or 5 months, then we are back to 1932, and that is not good for any incumbent.
Right. But the question becomes, Dr. Larry, doesn't it? So we get to November, we're in the general election. It's a Biden-Trump general, and your choices are stick with Donald Trump, who brought the stock market from 18 to almost 30,000 in 3 years, who has done historic trade agreements with USMCA, phase 1 of the China deal, who has followed through on all these promises, who have made us energy independent, right? All of the things that we look at that have just caused the lowest unemployment we've seen in decades, the lowest unemployment ever for females, blacks, and Latinos. You look at all that, and then you see Sleepy Uncle Joe. Are you going to bet on Joe Biden and his puppet masters for recovering our economy and our country, or are you going to stick with the guy who got us out of the last recession?
You're gonna go against the guy that's in charge right now in the hope that somebody else can do a better job.
Even if that somebody else is Biden?
Yep, and no matter who it is. It'll be essentially a protest vote. And frankly, there'll be some. I mean, there is. This has been a huge gamble,
right?
And if he loses, then I think he loses everything. And frankly, if it doesn't make it, if we don't start getting back to normal in a matter of, I guess maybe I'd say 30 days at the outset, then then I think that not only is the whole country in trouble, but so is the leadership.
Yeah. Well, I totally lost what the question I had on my mind. He was saying about it. Totally went blank. Don't you hate when that happens? But the
well, yeah, but I don't blame you.
Yeah, but it's just that I guess it's sad for me to think that the American populace in general can't see what's going on. And when you say he loses everything, what do you mean everything? I mean, his legacy. What does he lose? I mean, other than the presidency.
He loses the election for sure.
And that it's just a scary thought to think that somebody like Joe Biden and the puppeteers that are controlling him and the Pelosi's of the world are going to be. I mean, they've told us the first thing they're going to do is raise taxes and roll back the brakes that he put into office and forget it. I mean, they're going to open the borders. And it's just everything that Donald Trump has done to get us back to both the most powerful economy on the planet as well as the most powerful military on the planet. Basically, the Democrats in power there are saying they're going to do everything, they're going to undo all that and do exactly the opposite. And that, protests or not, you've got to weigh that. And it's scary to think that a typical voter out there would throw that all away.
3 minutes.
871-7000. Let's go to Mr. Frost. Good morning, sir. We only got a couple minutes left here. You're on with Dr. Larry.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, this is a call concerning the rights of brothers to visit brothers in hospitals. My friend who's a minister, his brother was in an automobile accident last night, and he's up at St. Vincent's Hospital, and he's all upset he's not allowed to visit his brother in the hospital room.
Yeah, a lot. Right, you can't visit people in nursing homes. Can't get visitors. There was a thing I was watching, a 95-year-old woman on her 95th birthday. The family, gathered out on the sidewalk and serenaded her from the front stoop. People have to communicate through glass windows and things of that nature, and it's too bad. I mean, these people are already probably a little depressed and a little lonely.
2 minutes,
But good point, Mr. Frost.
So if you see a guy out holding a sign out in front of St. Vincent's Hospital demanding his rights to see his brother, that's Reverend.
About a minute and a half right now, and still Gene too.
Call up emergency.
If you want.
So
Yep.
that's always the way, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Let me go to Gene. Gene, you have 23 seconds to say what you have to say because we're against the clock.
You know what, Joe? I just want to thank you once again that you're on and you're covering all the bases, and this is showing so much. And Dr. Fedawa, thank you so much for your honesty, for being with these great men.
We're at 1 minute now. 1 minute.
Because we need this eye-opening, reality check of what's happened. But what it does show, Joe, is we're not the evil ones. They didn't want to protect. They didn't want to protect the illegals coming in. All they care about is their vote. They didn't want to protect what was right in having,
45 seconds.
Yeah. All right. You know what, Gene? We're against the clock, but you're right 100%. What do you think of open borders now, right? I said that.
At 30 seconds.
Dr. Larry, we've run out the clock, man. Thank you so much. And again, people can catch you Wednesday night, 7, 8 o'clock on Blog Talk, correct?
Right.
There you go. Go to Dr. Larry online. Is the simplest way to get all the information. I appreciate you getting up early here. Go out there and feed some horses or something, all right?
Oh, they're waiting.
10 seconds.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Larry. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., but tune in at 6 a.m. for Faith in America with Reverend Peter Preble. And we're going to check back in with Out with Joe right now and Gary Goldman for Business, Politics, and Lifestyle coming up at 8 o'clock.
We're going to lunch. This is Out with Joe. With Joe Mangiacotti.
We're going to lunch.
Restaurants.
You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant.
Food and drink.
And when their ham and eggs need savor, coffee, ketchup gives them flavor.
Entertainment.
I like to have a little something going every day. Maybe nothing big, but a little daily recreation don't hurt me.
Have some bacon on a biscuit and let's go. Now it's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Well, this week we're going to take a look at the restaurant industry, some facts at a glance prior to the hit of the coronavirus.